At night we are not prisoners of the earth, but travelers of the infinite. Rumi. What if I told you that every night, while you think you're unconscious, your soul is traveling, remembering, meeting, and training in realms beyond time? Sleep is not shutdown, it's a doorway the ancients swore by, and Thoth himself whispered its hidden law. That déjà vu you can't explain, that nightmare you fear, even that dream you've ignored, they're not illusions, they're maps. Stay with me, because you're about to see where your consciousness really goes when the world thinks you're asleep. Most people think of sleep as hitting a switch, lights off, nothing happening. But here's the twist, your awareness doesn't actually disappear, it shifts. The body rests, yes, but your consciousness begins wandering into landscapes beyond the physical. Think of it like closing your eyes in one theater and waking up in another. If sleep isn't really unconsciousness, then what exactly is it? Every night, your awareness slips into hidden dimensions, places the ancients knew were alive with meaning. Egyptian priests, for example, treated dreams as rehearsals for the afterlife, while Hermetic adepts saw sleep as a gateway to timeless truth. You might think you're out cold, but the reality is more like boarding a vessel that sails inward instead of outward. So the real question is, if the journey continues, why do we pretend it stops? Imagine this, you lie down exhausted, your body melts into the sheets, but your mind starts sketching scenes that feel as real as waking life. A staircase, a familiar voice, a landscape you've never visited yet somehow remember. These aren't random brain flickers, they're doors. Ancient wisdom says your nightly travels can shape your waking destiny, so what's guiding those steps? Here's where it gets practical. Tonight, instead of collapsing into sleep like it's the end of the day, try pausing for a single slow breath. Inhale deeply, exhale fully, and picture your awareness stepping onto a bridge of light. You've just programmed your night like setting GPS coordinates. But what happens when society tells you those bridges are just imagination? That conditioning runs deep. From childhood, you've been taught to dismiss dreams as silly or meaningless. Parents brush them off, teachers focus on grades, and media glorifies productivity over inner journeys. The result? Most people forget that sleep is not passive, it's interactive. But what if ignoring your dreams is like leaving unopened letters that were written just for you? And here's the loop, if sleep is really a shift of awareness and not a shutdown, then dismissing dreams isn't neutral, it's blindness. The next topic is about how culture trained you to ignore this hidden reality. So let me ask, how much of your own inner guidance have you been conditioned to throw away without even noticing? From the moment you're a child, you're told dreams are nothing but nonsense. Parents laugh them off, teachers dismiss them, and eventually, you stop paying attention. Society builds this invisible fence around imagination, replacing wonder with grades, deadlines, and productivity charts. And once you believe dreams have no value, you lose access to a whole dimension of wisdom. Isn't it strange how fast wonder gets traded for routine? Think about school. You were trained to solve equations, memorize facts, and prepare for tests, but when was the last time a teacher asked you what you dreamed last night? The hidden message is clear, only the waking world counts. Yet, those suppressed inner landscapes often hold more personal truth than any textbook. So, if your dreams are ignored, what part of yourself gets silenced along with them? This conditioning doesn't just silence imagination, it numbs intuition. Over time, you start doubting your gut feelings, second-guessing inner signals, and relying only on logic. Of course, reason matters, but without intuition, you're walking with one eye closed. How many decisions in your life were made by ignoring that quiet inner whisper? And what if that whisper was the very compass meant to guide you? Let's get real. How many times have you woken up from a vivid dream, ready to write it down, only to roll over and say, "It's just a dream"? That's not laziness, it's programming. You've been taught those flashes don't matter. But if you started journaling even one dream a week, you'd notice patterns, guidance, even warnings. Try it tonight, then tell me, why were we told to ignore something so powerful? And here's the kicker, when you suppress dreams, you also suppress creativity. Some of history's greatest breakthroughs came from dreams: Einstein's theory of relativity, Paul McCartney's Yesterday, even the periodic table's arrangement. If culture had convinced them to ignore those dreams, imagine what the world would have lost. So ask yourself, what are you losing by dismissing your own? Which brings us to the next step. If society shuts the door on dreams, how did ancient cultures treat them? Unlike modern times, they didn't laugh them off, they built entire spiritual systems around them. So the real question is, what did the ancients know about dreams that we've forgotten? Long before science reduced dreams to random neurons, ancient cultures treated them like sacred maps. In Egypt, priests would sleep inside temples, believing dreams carried divine instructions from the gods. Entire rituals were built around interpreting symbols, guiding both personal destiny and state decisions. To them, the dream world was as real, sometimes even more real, than waking life. Doesn't that make you wonder what modern science might be missing? Travel east to Tibet, and you'll find dream yoga, a practice where monks train to stay conscious inside dreams. Why? Because they saw the dream state as rehearsal for death itself, a way to practice crossing into other realms. Every dream became a classroom for awareness, teaching the soul to stay awake when the body no longer could. What if your nightly rest is secretly training for your greatest transition? The Hermetic tradition offers another lens. Followers of Thoth believed that sleep opened a portal beyond logic, allowing glimpses of truths too vast for daylight thought. Instead of dismissing dreams, they mined them for insights, symbols, and direct communication with higher intelligence. It wasn't escapism, it was initiation. So if ancient wisdom pointed to dreams as initiation, why do we treat them as afterthoughts? Here's something practical. Imagine treating dreams as a second education. Keep a notebook by your bed, write down even fragments, and after a few weeks you'll start seeing patterns. This is how initiates built their inner libraries, decoding personal symbols to navigate challenges. Instead of asking, "What did I dream?" ask, "What is this teaching me?" And doesn't that sound like the beginning of a hidden curriculum? Notice the pattern: Egyptians, Tibetans, Hermetic adepts, different continents, different eras, yet all agreed that sleep is sacred. That's not coincidence, it's convergence. Humanity, when still connected to mystery, saw dreams as bridges to eternity. But once institutions took control, the narrative shifted. So, what happens when you step back into that forgotten river of wisdom? And here's the bridge: if ancient tradition saw dreams as tools for evolution, then modern dismissal has cut us off from a powerful heritage. Which raises the next question: could some dreams actually be more than symbols? Could they be memories of journeys your soul has already taken? Not every dream is symbolic, some are memories of where your consciousness actually traveled. Think of the astral plane as a layered city. Some districts glow with light, wisdom, and clarity, while others are dense with fear, confusion, or unresolved wounds. Where you wake up in that city depends entirely on the frequency you carried into sleep. So the question isn't if you travel, but where you land each night. If you've ever had a dream so vivid it felt more real than reality, you've touched this. Waking up from it leaves you with a strange homesickness, like you've just returned from another country. Some people even meet ancestors, guides, or strangers who later appear in waking life. That's not coincidence, it's continuity. But if these are memories, how do we choose higher routes? It comes down to inner state. Stress, resentment, or fear act like heavy weights that pull you into the lower astral layers, where nightmares thrive. Peace, gratitude, or simple presence act like wings that lift you into brighter realms. The astral doesn't lie, it mirrors your vibration without filter. So if your dreams often drag you into chaos, what's your energy broadcasting before bed? Here's a practice. Tonight, before you sleep, close your eyes and breathe deeply 3 times. Picture yourself surrounded by a soft light, choose gold, silver, or violet. Whisper a simple intention like, "Guide me to clarity." That single gesture shifts your compass. Tomorrow morning, when you recall even fragments, ask, were these echoes of fear, or memories of wisdom? Across history, mystics saw these journeys not as fantasies but as nightly pilgrimages. Egyptians prepared initiates to consciously walk the astral halls. Shamans in the Americas spoke of dreamtime as a realm of ancestors. Even modern researchers record mutual dreams, where 2 people recall the same encounter. If dreams are just fiction, how do we explain these overlaps? And here's the loop: if your inner state is the compass that sets your astral destination, then what you feel before sleep matters more than you've been told. Which leads us naturally into the next key: how intention and vibration set the coordinates for your journey. Before you fall asleep, your last thoughts and emotions act like coordinates on a map. They quietly program the flight path of your consciousness for the night ahead. Go to bed anxious, and you'll likely drift into dense dreamscapes. Enter with peace, and you rise toward luminous realms. It's not superstition, it's energetic law. So, what kind of GPS did you set last night without even realizing? Think of vibration as the music you're broadcasting. If your inner soundtrack is heavy with fear or anger, you'll tune into stations that play more of the same. But if your melody is gratitude, love, or clarity, your signal draws in harmonics that match. That's why monks chant, why mystics pray, and why many traditions honor bedtime rituals. So what song are you transmitting before you close your eyes? Here's something you can try tonight. Take 2 minutes to sit in silence, phone away, lights dimmed. Breathe slowly and repeat a simple phrase like, "I choose peace." Feel it in your chest, not just your head. That vibration sets the compass, lifting you like a balloon toward lighter dimensions. And when you wake, your journal becomes the map of where you traveled. Wouldn't you like to test it yourself? Most people don't realize they're already doing the opposite. Falling asleep scrolling, replaying arguments, or worrying about bills is like programming nightmares in advance. Your body rests, but your mind drags its baggage across the threshold. That's why mornings often feel heavy. But if one choice, just one, can shift the frequency, why not experiment with a better launchpad? Here's the mid-roll teaser. The step almost no one reveals is coming up next. It's not about what you think before bed, but how sleep itself bends time. Because if intention sets the compass, then the astral plane lets you travel across timelines, not just places. Imagine waking up with déjà vu because you literally glimpsed tomorrow. Curious yet? And that brings us right into the next mystery. What happens to time once you step out of the body and into the dream? If clocks stop ticking and the spiral of eternity opens up, then how does consciousness actually move through past, present, and future? Time feels like a straight line when you're awake, yesterday, today, tomorrow. But the moment you drift into dreams, that line starts to bend. Suddenly you're a child again, or meeting someone you haven't met yet, or reliving an event with a different outcome. Dreams show you what clocks can't. Consciousness isn't bound to a calendar. So if time dissolves in sleep, what does that reveal about waking life? Déjà vu is one of the clearest hints. That eerie sensation of having lived a moment before? Many describe it as a glitch. But what if it's simply memory catching up to a future you already glimpsed in a dream? Entire cultures believe prophetic dreams weren't fantasy but previews. So the question becomes, how many of your coincidences are really echoes of tomorrow? Thoth described time not as a line, but as a spiral. On this spiral, past, present, and future exist side by side, like layers of a shell. When you sleep, you step outside the narrow track of linear hours and into the wider spiral, able to touch multiple points. That's why dreams can collapse centuries into seconds. If time is a spiral, where do you think your soul is spiraling tonight? Here's a way to experience it consciously. Before bed, pick a simple question, something you want clarity on. Breathe deeply, visualize yourself stepping into a spiral staircase, and fall asleep asking for an answer. When you wake, write down the first images or feelings that surface. They may not be logical, but they often contain threads from outside linear time. Isn't that worth testing? Modern science still struggles here, but countless personal accounts tell the story. People dream of accidents before they happen, or reunite with loved ones long gone. Others relive events differently, as if exploring alternate versions of reality. Sleep loosens the grip of chronology, reminding you that time is far more fluid than your planner suggests. So why cling to straight lines when your soul is walking curves? And here's the bridge: if dreams bend time and let us meet different versions of reality, then maybe they also let us meet different versions of people. Which raises the next mystery: can two souls actually share the same dream and remember it together? Have you ever woken up and realized someone else dreamed the same thing? Shared dreaming sounds like fantasy, yet countless people have compared notes and found eerie overlaps. Friends recalling the same location, couples meeting in identical scenarios, even strangers describing each other's dream presence. It suggests that dreams aren't private theaters but shared arenas. So, if minds can meet, where exactly are they meeting? Science has brushed against this mystery. In experiments, one person focused on an image while another, sleeping miles away, dreamed it. Not every attempt worked, but enough did to raise eyebrows. It hints that the dream state might be less about imagination and more about tuning into a common frequency. If radio signals can travel invisibly, why not thought? Doesn't that make you wonder what else connects us? Ancient cultures certainly thought so. Shamans spoke of dreamtime as the place tribes gathered with ancestors. Egyptians recorded encounters with gods as if they were nightly appointments. Even mystics in the Hermetic stream believed the astral plane was a commons, like a vast marketplace of souls. If different traditions point to the same meeting ground, maybe shared dreams are less rare than we think. Here's a practice to test it. Choose a friend and agree on a simple image, a red apple, a golden key, a spiral staircase. Before bed, both of you focus on that symbol for a minute. The next morning, compare notes. Even if details differ, you may notice overlaps that feel uncanny. Try it, because direct experience teaches more than any theory. Wouldn't you love proof that connection transcends distance? Think about the implications. If people can meet in dreams, then so can guides, ancestors, and maybe even teachers from higher realms. Encounters in that space might explain why advice sometimes arrives in symbolic stories rather than logical answers. Dreams could be less like movies and more like meetings in disguise. So, who might be waiting for you in the astral commons tonight? And here's the loop: if shared dreams reveal connection, then nightmares reveal the shadows we avoid. Because the same space that holds meetings with guides also mirrors fears we haven't faced. Which raises the next question: what if nightmares aren't punishments, but teachers in disguise? Most people wake from nightmares in a cold sweat, relieved to escape. But what if the nightmare wasn't an enemy, but a mirror? These dark dreamscapes often reveal wounds, fears, or unresolved memories that your waking mind keeps buried. Instead of random horror, they're coded lessons. So the real question is, are you running from your teacher? Think of the shadowy figure chasing you. Psychologists would call it a projection of repressed fear. Mystics would say it's an unintegrated part of your soul demanding attention. Either way, the principle is the same. Until you turn around and face it, it keeps returning. Nightmares repeat because they're knocking on a locked door. What might open if you finally turn the handle? Here's the secret: fear in dreams transforms the moment you face it. The monster dissolves into a guide, the chase scene shifts into clarity, the fall turns into flight. Countless lucid dreamers report this exact moment of transformation. It's not about controlling the dream, it's about listening to it. If fear morphs into wisdom when confronted, what message might your own nightmare be holding back? A simple exercise: next time you wake from a nightmare, don't dismiss it. Instead, sit for 10 seconds in silence, close your eyes, and breathe slowly. Ask, what are you trying to show me? Write down the first image or word that comes. Often, it's surprisingly direct: a reminder, a forgotten memory, a call to change. Isn't it better to decode the lesson than to keep running blind? Culturally, we treat nightmares as glitches, something to escape. But ancients saw them as initiation trials. Just as warriors trained by facing fear, dreamers trained by walking into darkness. Nightmares were classrooms in disguise, teaching courage, self-integration, and resilience. If you shift perspective, even the scariest dreams become doorways. So, what doorway might be hiding behind your fear? And here's the loop: if nightmares reveal the wounds, then the entry point to healing lies in the state before we fall asleep. That fragile moment between waking and dreaming, the hypnagogic gateway, may be the key to programming what kind of lessons we encounter next. That fragile state right before sleep, when your body is heavy but your mind drifts with flashes of images, is called hypnagogia. Most people pass through it unconsciously, scrolling phones or replaying worries. But it's actually one of the most powerful gateways you'll ever cross. In those moments, your mind is suggestible, like clay waiting to be shaped. So, what are you imprinting on it each night? Ancient traditions understood this. Yogis practiced mantra repetition in that liminal state, letting the vibration sink deep into the subconscious. Mystics visualized sacred symbols, planting them like seeds for dream journeys. Even inventors like Edison and Tesla used hypnagogia to spark ideas, holding objects so they'd wake at the edge of sleep and capture insights. If geniuses trusted this gateway, why don't we? Here's something simple you can try. Instead of falling asleep to noise, close your eyes and picture a light at the center of your chest. Let it expand with each breath until you feel wrapped in calm. Whisper a short intention, show me clarity, or guide me to peace. This becomes the compass for your night's journey. What happens when you finally program your gateway instead of leaving it on autopilot? Think of it like setting the stage before a play. The props, the lighting, the script you rehearse, it all determines what unfolds. If you go to bed scrolling, you're programming chaos. If you go to bed in silence and gratitude, you're programming harmony. Your subconscious doesn't judge, it just follows instructions. So, what script will you hand it tonight? This state isn't only about personal growth, it's about healing. Many report that affirmations said in hypnagogia echo back during dreams as symbols or even direct answers. It's as if the mind whispers back what the heart whispered first. Miss this window, and you miss the chance to rewrite the patterns that shape both your nights and your days. Can you see why it's too precious to waste? And here's the loop: if the hypnagogic gateway programs the journey, then the dream itself becomes training, lessons, trials, and initiations designed to evolve you. Which leads to the next revelation: sleep is not just rest, it's a nightly evolutionary classroom. Sleep isn't just a pause button, it's a classroom. Every night, while your body repairs itself, your consciousness enters spaces where lessons unfold. Some nights the lessons are gentle, wrapped in symbolic stories. Other nights, they're trials disguised as nightmares or puzzles. Either way, the stage is set for growth, not just rest. Doesn't that change how you see your pillow? Ancient initiates knew this well. Egyptian priests trained in dream temples, Tibetan monks in dream yoga, shamans in dreamtime rituals. Each treated sleep like spiritual training, not downtime. Your own dreams may not look like theirs, but the principle is the same. You're being taught to remember, to face, to integrate. So what if every dream you've ever had was part of a hidden curriculum? Here's something practical: start a dream journal. It doesn't need to be poetic, just jot down fragments, symbols, or feelings. After a few weeks, you'll notice themes, recurring characters, even warnings or guidance. That journal becomes your textbook, and your nights become your lessons. Isn't it worth recording what your soul is teaching you for free every night? Think of nightmares as exams, lucid dreams as advanced courses, and ordinary dreams as daily practice. Each has its role in shaping awareness. The more conscious you become about them, the more prepared you are in waking life, stronger intuition, clearer decisions, calmer presence. It's like training muscles you didn't know you had. But the real question is, will you attend the class, or sleep through it? Here's a guided moment you can try. Tonight, before bed, breathe deeply 3 times, then whisper to yourself, "Teach me what I need most." Trust whatever dream comes, even if it's confusing. In the morning, write it down, no matter how small. You'll be surprised how those fragments start building a story of growth. Could this be the missing link between your nights and your evolution? And here's the closing loop: if sleep is an evolutionary training ground, then it's not separate from waking life, it's shaping it. The more you awaken in dreams, the more awake you become in the day. And that brings us full circle to Thoth's ancient teaching: consciousness never shuts down, it only shifts. So, Are you ready to remember where your soul travels each night? You've seen tonight that sleep is never just rest, it's a classroom, a temple, and a bridge to realms you've forgotten. Every dream is a message, every nightmare a teacher, every silence before sleep a compass. The only question is whether you'll start walking through that doorway with awareness or keep treating it like nothing but darkness. So tonight, give yourself the chance, breathe slowly, set one clear intention, and let your soul show you where it travels. In the morning, write it down. That simple act can transform not just your nights, but your days. If this resonated, subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next step on this path. We're only scratching the surface. I'd love to know, what's the most vivid dream you've ever had? Share it in the comments, it may awaken someone else who's been waiting for a sign. And if this opened something in you, hit like and share this video with a friend, so more people remember that dreams aren't random, they're maps. And when you're ready for the next journey, don't stop here. On the screen now is the video that will take you deeper into Thoth's hidden teachings, revealing the mysteries most people are still blind to. Go there next.